Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Andrew Missick, and today I want to continue our deep dive investigation and research into the life of St. Jude Thaddeus. And we know that he is one of the men called by Jesus Christ to be one of his apostles. If you look at the Gospel of Matthew, and we turn to chapter 10, it says, "And he called to him his 12 disciples, and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out, and to heal every disease and every affliction. And the names of the 12 apostles are these: first, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip, and Bartholomew, Thomas, and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus," that's Jude Thaddeus, "Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot," the other Jude, or Judas, who betrayed him. Let's look at the story of the calling of the 12 apostles from the Gospel of Luke. It says, starting at verse 12, "And in those days he went out to a mountain to pray, and all night he continued in prayer unto God." So Jesus spent an entire evening praying about this momentous decision. Who would be called, who would be chosen to be his 12 apostles? And when day came, he called his disciples and chose from among them 12, whom he named apostles. Simon, who he named Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James and John and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew and Thomas and James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon, who is called the Zealot, and Judas, or Jude, the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became traitor. So it's important to remember that Jesus had two disciples or apostles named Jude. Jude Thaddeus, the good apostle, and Jude or Judas Iscariot, the traitor. So people sometimes confuse Jude Thaddeus with Judas Iscariot, or Judas Thaddeus with Judas Iscariot. These are two different people. One followed his Lord faithfully, and the other betrayed him. So this is important for us to remember that St. Jude Thaddeus was chosen specifically by Jesus Christ. Let's contemplate for a moment the choosing of Jesus of St. Jude Thaddeus. Who was St. Jude Thaddeus to start out with? He was just a common man that lived in Galilee, a simple person from the rural backwaters of the Roman Empire, not from a major city, but from a small, obscure area off the Sea of Galilee. But God saw something in St. Jude Thaddeus.
You were Jude, called Livius?
Yes.
You were called Livius, meaning heart. From now on, you will be called Thaddeus, meaning great heart. Come, follow me and become one of my apostles. As my apostle, I send you out to do and to say the things that I have done and said. You will take with you my disciple Mari, and together you will heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely you have received, freely give.
Think about this. St. Jude was a simple man, and yet that lived an ordinary life, and yet we see how he serves as an inspiration for millions of people around the world. If you go down to Mexico or the valley where I worked for several years, the Rio Grande Valley at the border between Texas and Mexico, you're going to see a lot of pictures of St. Jude Thaddeus as the patron saint of lost and desperate causes. I recently returned from Mesopotamia, and I went to a monastery up in the mountains of what's called Iraqi Kurdistan. This is the Nineveh Plains, the ancient Assyrian homeland. And I went to Marmatai Monastery, and there they had statues and depiction of St. Jude Thaddeus. And in their language, they call him Mar Addai. The Assyrian people do Mar Addai, or Saint Thaddeus. And he was sent by Jesus after the resurrection to go and evangelize the people of the East So he seemed to be a plain, simple, ordinary man, but Jesus had a vision for him, and Jesus saw into his future and the greatness that he would achieve and the inspiration that he would give to millions of people around the world. And we see this spoken of in the scriptures. If you look, it says in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, Yahweh, Jehovah, the Lord of hosts, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope, that when you call upon me and come and pray to me, I will hear you. When you seek me, you will find me. When you seek me with all your heart, I will be found by you, declares the Lord. Now restore your fortunes and gather you and bless you." So we see in the scriptures that God had a vision for St. Jude Thaddeus, a vision that he could not probably imagine or see for himself, that 2,000 years later that his fame would have spread throughout the entire globe, the entire world. And but Jesus saw that. Jesus looked at Jude Thaddeus and didn't just see a simple Galilean. He saw a man who was destined for greatness, and a man whose name is invoked around the world and serves as an inspiration for millions of people around the world. And so the Lord, God, has a plan for you as well, for your blessing. And it all starts with being born anew. Who is St. Jude Thaddeus? He was an apostle of Jesus of Nazareth, of Yeshua the Messiah. And he was sent out to tell people that they can know God as their Father by trusting in Jesus, the eternal Son of God, who loved us so much that he gave his life for our salvation on the cross of Golgotha. So the message of St. Jude Thaddeus is calling to you today, calling you to give your heart to Christ and be born again and pick up the cross and follow the Lord so that you can have a life worth living, make an impact upon this world, and then have an eternal relationship as a child of God forever in his glorious kingdom.